The fluorescent lights hummed softly in the laboratory as Dr. Lisa Martinez stared at her computer screen. It was 3 a.m., and she was the only one left in the Redwood Research Institute. Her coffee had gone cold hours ago, but she barely noticed. What she saw on her screen was far more interesting than any caffeine could ever be. "This can't be right," she whispered to herself, adjusting her glasses. She had been studying human DNA samples for the past 5 years, but she had never seen anything like this before. There was a sequence that seemed to be sleeping, waiting for something to wake it up. She ran the tests again and again. Each time, the results were the same. The strange DNA sequence was there in every human sample she tested, but it wasn't doing anything. It was like a light switch that nobody had ever turned on. The next morning, Dr. Martinez walked into her lab partner's office. Peter Wright was eating his breakfast sandwich when she dropped a thick folder on his desk. "Peter, I need you to look at this," she said, her brown eyes bright with excitement. "I think I found something big." Peter wiped his hands and opened the folder. He was younger than Lisa, fresh out of graduate school, but he was one of the smartest people she knew. As he read through the data, his eyes got wider and wider. "These numbers, they're real?" he asked, looking up at her. Lisa nodded. "I ran the tests 12 times last night. That sequence is in every human sample we have. It's not active, but it's there, waiting." "But what does it do?" Peter asked, flipping through more pages. "That's the interesting part," Lisa said, pulling up a chair. "Based on my calculations, if we could activate this sequence, it could make humans stronger, faster, and smarter. It could help us heal quickly and adapt to almost any situation. It's like our DNA has a superhero mode that nobody knew about." Before Peter could respond, their office phone rang. Lisa picked it up, expecting it to be someone from the lab. Instead, a deep voice she didn't recognize spoke. "Dr. Martinez, this is General Samuel Ross from the United Earth Defense Force. We need to talk about your recent discovery." Lisa's heart skipped a beat. She had only made the discovery hours ago. "How did they know?" I haven't published anything yet," she said carefully. "We monitor all genetic research closely, Doctor. A car will pick you up in 30 minutes. This is a matter of planetary security." The line went dead. Lisa looked at Peter, who was still studying the data. "The military is coming," she said quietly. "They already know." What Lisa didn't know was that she wasn't the only one watching her discovery. High above Earth's atmosphere, in a cloaked ship, alien eyes were fixed on the Redwood Research Institute. The Zarkax Empire had been monitoring human genetic research for decades, waiting for exactly this kind of breakthrough. Khazar Vex, the military commander of the Zarkax observation fleet, watched the data stream in from their surveillance systems. His species had mastered genetic engineering centuries ago, but they had reached their limits. Their soldiers were as strong as their DNA could make them. But humans were different. Their DNA held secrets that the Zarkax had never seen before. "Prepare a first contact protocol," Khazar Vex ordered his crew. "The humans have finally found what we've been waiting for." Back in her lab, Lisa quickly made copies of all her data. She had a feeling that once the military arrived, her research wouldn't be hers anymore. As she worked, she couldn't shake the feeling that her discovery was about to change everything. She had no idea just how right she was. The secret hidden in human DNA was about to start a chain of events that would affect not just Earth, but the entire galaxy. And at the center of it all was a quiet scientist who had stayed up too late, staring at DNA sequences that nobody else had thought to look at quite so closely. It happened on a Tuesday morning. The sky over New York filled with massive ships that seemed to appear from nowhere. They hung in the air like giant silver clouds, each one bigger than the largest aircraft carrier ever built. The world held its breath. Dr. Lisa Martinez watched it all unfold on the screens inside the UEDF underground facility. She had been working here for the past week, since the military picked her up. General Ross stood beside her, his face hard as stone. They're hailing every major government at once, someone announced. They're calling themselves the Zarkax. The message played across screens worldwide. The alien who appeared looked almost human, except for his blue-tinted skin and eyes that seemed to glow from within. "People of Earth," the alien said in perfect English, "we are the Zarkax, and we come in peace. We wish to share our advanced technology with you in exchange for scientific cooperation, particularly in genetic research." Lisa felt her stomach tighten. This wasn't a coincidence. They had come right after her discovery. "They're lying," Peter said from his computer station. He had been brought to the facility too, along with all their research. "I found something in their transmission." General Ross walked over to Peter's screen. "What did you find, son?" "There's hidden data embedded in their signal. It took me a while to crack it, but..." Peter's fingers flew across his keyboard. "These are their real plans. They don't want to share technology. They want our DNA. Specifically, they want Dr. Martinez's discovery." Lisa watched as Peter showed them the decoded messages. The Zarkax had been studying humans for years. They had reached the limits of their own genetic enhancement programs. Their soldiers were strong, but they couldn't get any stronger. Something in human DNA held the key to breaking past those limits. "They're desperate," Lisa said, reading the messages. "Their empire is at war with another alien race, and they're losing. They need better soldiers." The facility's alarms suddenly started blaring. On the main screen, they watched as more Zarkax ships appeared. These ones were smaller, built for war. "They're not waiting for an answer," General Ross said grimly. "Get everything packed. We're moving to Site B." But before anyone could move, the lights went out. Emergency red lights came on, casting strange shadows everywhere. The blast doors at the entrance of the facility started to open. "That's impossible," General Ross said. "Those doors can only be opened from the inside with proper authorization." They heard footsteps in the darkness. 3 Zarkax warriors walked in, their armor gleaming in the red light. Behind them was a human woman in a UEDF uniform. "Commander Blake," General Ross stared in shock. "What have you done?" "I made the right choice," Commander Alice Blake said coldly. "The Zarkax will win eventually. I'm just making sure I'm on the winning side." The Zarkax warriors moved forward. They were tall, strong, and moved with incredible speed, but they weren't there to fight. They headed straight for the computers containing Lisa's research. "Stop them," General Ross shouted. Security teams rushed in, but their bullets bounced off the Zarkax armor like rain. In the chaos, Lisa did the only thing she could think of. She ran to her computer and pressed a button she had prepared for emergencies. All her data began deleting itself. "The research is in our heads," she whispered to Peter as they backed away from the fighting. "As long as we're free, they can't have it." One of the Zarkax turned toward them, his glowing eyes narrowing. "Then we will take you too." But before he could reach them, the facility's defense systems finally kicked in. Metal barriers slammed down from the ceiling, separating the Zarkax from the humans. Evacuation doors opened behind them. "Run," General Ross ordered. "We'll hold them off." As Lisa and Peter ran through the evacuation tunnels, they could hear the sound of fighting behind them. The first battle between humans and aliens had begun, and it had started because of what was hidden in human DNA. The real war was about to begin. The underground bunker at Site B was much larger than the previous facility. Dr. Lisa Martinez hadn't seen the sun in 2 weeks, but she didn't mind. She was too busy rebuilding her research from memory, with Peter's help. A knock on the lab door made them both jump. A tall man in a Marine uniform walked in. His name tag read Carter. "John Carter," he said, standing straight. "I heard you need volunteers." Lisa looked at him carefully. He was strong, but not unusually so. What made him special was the look in his eyes, calm and determined, even though he knew why he was here. "You know this might kill you?" Lisa asked. Nobody had ever tried to activate the dormant DNA sequence before. "The first attempts will be the most dangerous." John nodded. I read the reports, but I also saw what those Zarkak soldiers can do. We need this to work. Peter pulled up John's file on the computer. His eyes widened as he read. Perfect genetic profile. No diseases in family history. Peak physical condition. Sir, you're exactly what we've been looking for. General Ross walked in during their conversation. He looked tired. The Zarkaks had attacked 3 more research facilities in the past week. Carter was the best in his unit, Ross said. If anyone can survive this, it's him. Lisa took a deep breath. Okay, let's begin the tests. The next few days were filled with endless blood draws and scans. They needed to understand everything about John's body before they tried to change it. Lisa worked day and night, checking and double-checking her calculations. The sequence is like a locked door in every cell of your body, she explained to John. We're going to try to make a key. On the day of the first attempt, they moved to a special room with thick walls. John lay on a medical bed, connected to dozens of monitors. Lisa held a syringe filled with a blue liquid. This will either activate the dormant sequence, or she couldn't finish the sentence. Or it'll kill me, John said calmly. I understand. Do it. Lisa injected the blue liquid into his arm. For a few minutes, nothing happened. Then John's body stiffened, heart rate increasing. Peter called out, watching the monitors. Temperature rising. Brain activity off the charts. John's back arched as his muscles began to spasm. His skin seemed to glow from within, and his veins showed bright blue under his skin. We need to stop this, Peter shouted. He's going to die. But before Lisa could do anything, John's voice cut through their panic. No. Keep going. The monitors were beeping wildly. John's heart was beating faster than any human heart should. His brain waves looked like a lightning storm. Then, suddenly, everything went quiet. John's body relaxed, and his eyes opened. They glowed slightly, just like the Zarkak's eyes did. How do you feel? Lisa asked, approaching carefully. John sat up slowly. The movement was too smooth, too perfect. He looked at his hands as if seeing them for the first time. I feel. He paused, searching for words. I feel like I'm finally awake. He stood up and walked to the wall. Before anyone could stop him, he pressed his finger against the steel wall. It dented like it was made of soft clay. Incredible, Lisa whispered, scanning him with her instruments. The sequence didn't just activate. It's still changing you, making you stronger by the minute. How strong can I get? John asked. We don't know, Peter said, looking at the readings. This is just the beginning. Suddenly, alarms started blaring throughout the facility. General Ross rushed in. The Zarkaks found us, he said. They're coming. John walked to the door. His movements were different now. Powerful, precise, like a predator. Good, he said, his eyes glowing brighter. Let's show them what humans can really do. Lisa watched him walk out, realizing that she hadn't just created a Supersoldier. She had unlocked something that had been sleeping in human DNA since the beginning of their species. The real question was, what else would wake up now that the door was open? The first Zarkak soldier who met John Carter didn't survive to tell about it. As the aliens breached the facility's outer walls, John moved faster than their sensors could track. His fist went straight through their advanced armor like it was paper. Dr. Lisa Martinez watched it all through the security cameras, her mouth open in amazement. Next to her, Peter frantically took notes on everything they saw. Look at how his body adapts, Peter said, pointing at the screen. Every time they hit him with a new weapon, his skin gets stronger. It was true. The Zarkak's weapons left burns on John's skin at first, but each new shot did less damage. By the 5th hit, they didn't leave a mark at all. The DNA sequence, Lisa whispered, it's learning. In the hallway, John grabbed a Zarkak's energy rifle. His enhanced mind understood how it worked instantly. He fired it with perfect accuracy, taking down 3 aliens at once. Impossible, one of the Zarkak soldiers shouted in their language. But John understood that too. His brain had adapted to their speech patterns in minutes. "No," John replied in perfect Zarkax, making them step back in shock. "This is what humans were always meant to be." Back in the control room, Lisa's computer beeped with new data. She rushed to check it, her eyes growing wide as she read. "Peter, look at this," she called. "The sequence. It's not just random DNA. It's a collection of survival traits from Earth's entire history." Peter looked at the data. "What do you mean?" "Every time humans faced a challenge, ice ages, diseases, wars, some of us survived by adapting. Those adaptations got saved in our DNA, but they went to sleep. We didn't need them anymore." Lisa's voice was excited. "John's body is waking them all up at once." On the screens, they watched as John continued to fight. He moved like a mix of every predator that ever lived. When the Zarkax tried to use poison gas, his lungs adapted in seconds to filter it out. When they used sonic weapons, his ears shifted to protect themselves. "Send all data to the backup servers," General Ross ordered. "The other facilities need to see this." But their amazement was interrupted by a new alarm. More Zarkax ships were arriving. These ones were bigger, carrying their elite troops. Through the cameras, they saw the new aliens step out of their ships. They were huge, covered in black armor that seemed to drink in light. Their weapons were bigger too. "John," Lisa spoke into the radio. "You need to fall back. There's too many of them." "No," John's calm voice came back. "Watch this." As the elite Zarkax troops approached, John closed his eyes. His skin began to shimmer like sunlight on water. When he opened his eyes again, they glowed with a fierce blue light. "He's accessing more of the sequence," Peter said, checking the readings. "His DNA is activating parts we didn't even know were there." What happened next left everyone speechless. John moved so fast, he seemed to disappear. The elite Zarkax troops fired their weapons, but hit nothing but air. Then, one by one, they fell, taken down by strikes too quick to see. In less than a minute, 20 of the galaxy's most dangerous warriors lay unconscious or dead. John stood in the middle of them, barely breathing hard. "Dr. Martinez," he said into his radio, "I think we just proved that your discovery works." Lisa nodded, even though he couldn't see her. "Yes, but this is just the beginning. Your DNA is still changing, still waking up new abilities." "Good," John replied, "because I can sense more ships entering Earth's atmosphere. The real fight is about to start." General Ross looked at the long-range scanners and frowned. Hundreds of Zarkax warships were appearing. "We need more soldiers like him," Ross said. "How soon can you start the process on other volunteers?" Lisa looked at her data, then at the screen showing John's incredible victory. "The process is safer now that we know it works. We can start tomorrow." The human race was about to change forever. The sleeping giant in their DNA had finally woken up. Commander Alice Blake walked through the dark halls of the Zarkax mothership. Her footsteps were quiet, but her heart was beating fast. She had just learned something that changed everything. The Zarkax hadn't told her the whole truth. She had found their real plans in their computer system. They didn't want to make their soldiers stronger. They wanted to use human DNA to make a virus that would kill most humans, leaving only a few alive to use as test subjects. Her hand shook as she downloaded the proof to a small device. She had helped them. She had betrayed Earth because she thought the Zarkax would help humanity grow stronger. Instead, they had tricked her. Back on Earth, in the underground facility, John Carter suddenly opened his eyes. He was resting between training sessions with the new volunteers. Something felt wrong. "Dr. Martinez," he called out. "Someone's in the ventilation system." Lisa looked up from her computer. "That's impossible. The sensors would have." Before she could finish, the lights went out. Emergency alarms started blaring. "It's happening again," Peter said, rushing to lock down the computers. But how did they get in? John closed his eyes, letting his enhanced senses spread through the facility. He could hear heartbeats, smell fear and sweat, feel vibrations in the walls. Then he caught a scent he recognized. "Commander Blake is back," he said. "And she's not alone." 3 levels up, Commander Blake was running. Behind her, she could hear the heavy footsteps of Zarkak's soldiers. They knew she had discovered their secret. She had to warn Earth, even if it meant dying. She ran into a large room and found John Carter waiting there. His eyes glowed in the dark. "Don't shoot," she gasped, holding up the data device. "I was wrong. I was so wrong. They're going to kill everyone." John listened to her heartbeat. It was fast but steady. She was telling the truth. The wall exploded inward. 5 Zarkak's elite warriors stepped through, their black armor making them look like living shadows. "The traitor dies," one of them said in their language. "The human specimen comes with us." John stepped in front of Commander Blake. "I understand your language now," he said to them. "I understand everything about you. Your weaknesses, your fears, the flaws in your armor." The Zarkaks raised their weapons. John moved. To Commander Blake, it looked like a dance. John flowed around their energy beams like water. His hands found gaps in their armor that shouldn't have existed. His strength tore through metal that was supposed to be unbreakable. In 30 seconds, 5 of the most dangerous warriors in the galaxy lay on the floor, defeated by 1 enhanced human. "The data," Commander Blake said, holding out the device with shaking hands. "It shows what they really want." "I'm so sorry," I thought. "I know," John said, taking the device. "I can smell the truth in your words. But now we need to move. More are coming." They ran to the lab where Dr. Martins and Peter were protecting the research. General Ross was there too, organizing the facility's defenses. "Commander Blake," Ross said coldly, raising his gun. "Wait," John said. "She's with us now." And she brought proof of the Zarkaks' real plan. Lisa took the data device and plugged it into her computer. Her face went pale as she read. "They want to kill us all," she whispered. "They want to use our DNA to make a weapon." "Not anymore," John said. His voice was calm, but his eyes glowed brighter. "Now we know the truth. And we have something they don't." "What's that?" Peter asked. "An entire planet of volunteers," John said. "Humans who will fight to protect Earth. And each one of them carries the same DNA that made me what I am." Commander Blake looked at them all. "Will you trust me to help? To make up for what I did?" John nodded. "Everyone deserves a second chance. Besides, we'll need every advantage we can get. The Zarkaks will attack with everything they have once they know we've discovered their plan." As if to prove his words, the facility's sensors began to light up. Hundreds of Zarkak ships were appearing in the sky. The real war was about to begin. The training room was filled with 50 volunteers. They lay on medical beds, each one connected to machines that beeped steadily. Dr. Lisa Martinez walked between them, checking their vital signs as the blue liquid flowed into their veins. "How many have survived the process so far?" General Ross asked, watching from the observation room above. 47 out of 50, Peter answered, looking at his tablet. "John's data helped us make the treatment safer. These soldiers should wake up even stronger than he did." John Carter stood in the corner, his glowing eyes scanning each volunteer. He could sense their DNA changing, just like his had. But there was something else too. "They're different from me," he said quietly. "Each one is changing in their own way." Lisa nodded. "The dormant DNA responds differently in each person. Some are getting stronger, others are getting faster. A few are developing abilities we've never seen before." Suddenly, one of the volunteers sat up. Her name was Amy Foster, a Navy SEAL. Her eyes glowed green instead of blue like John's. "I can see everything," she said in wonder. "Heat signatures, electrical fields, even radio waves." Another volunteer, Steve Duncan from the Army Rangers, woke up next. His skin had taken on a metallic shine. "The armor," he said, touching his arm. It's not just stronger, it's part of me now. One by one, they all woke up. Each one was different. Each one was powerful in their own way. This is amazing, Commander Blake said, watching from her guard post. She was still earning back everyone's trust. But will it be enough? The facility shook as explosions boomed above ground. The Zarkax were starting their attack. We're about to find out, John said. They're here. General Ross grabbed his radio. All enhanced soldiers to battle stations. This is not a drill. The new super soldiers moved with incredible speed and grace. Their bodies had changed, but their military training remained. They knew how to work as a team. Lisa rushed to her lab with Peter. They had more volunteers to prepare, but they needed time. How long until the next group is ready? Ross asked. 2 hours, Lisa answered. Maybe less. The process gets faster each time we do it. The building shook again. Through the security cameras, they watched as Zarkax dropships landed outside. Hundreds of alien warriors poured out, all wearing their black armor. Let us handle this, John said, stepping forward with his team of enhanced soldiers. Keep working on the others. We'll buy you time. Annie Foster's eyes glowed brighter as she scanned the enemy forces. I can see their weak points. Their armor has gaps we can exploit. Steve Duncan cracked his metallic knuckles. And I can break through the strong parts. The first wave of Zarkax broke through the outer doors. They expected to find scared humans hiding in the dark. Instead, they found 50 pairs of glowing eyes waiting for them. Remember your training, John told his team. Remember why we're fighting. This isn't just about survival anymore. This is about showing them what humans can really do. The fight that followed was like nothing Earth had ever seen. Enhanced humans moved faster than cameras could track. Zarkax energy weapons filled the air with light, but they couldn't hit targets that seemed to vanish and reappear at will. Amy called out enemy positions, seen through walls and armor. Steve charged straight through their strongest defenses, like they were made of glass. Each enhanced soldier found their own way to fight, using their unique abilities to their fullest. In her lab, Lisa worked faster than ever before. More volunteers arrived every minute as word spread about what was happening. Soldiers, police officers, firefighters, everyone who could fight was volunteering. Look at them all, Peter said, amazed. They're not afraid of the pain or the risk. They just want to help. Lisa smiled as she prepared more of the blue liquid. That's the real secret in our DNA, Peter. Not just the ability to adapt and grow stronger, but the will to stand up and fight when we need to. Above them, the battle raged on. But for the first time since the Zarkax arrived, humanity wasn't just fighting back. They were winning. The sky over Earth was on fire. Zarkax ships filled the air, their weapons lighting up the clouds. But they weren't fighting alone anymore. Human ships rose to meet them, piloted by enhanced soldiers who could now think faster than computers. In the command center deep underground, Dr. Lisa Martinez watched the battle unfold on large screens. Her discovery had changed everything in just a few weeks. More Zarkax ships coming through their jump points, Commander Blake reported. She worked at the radar station now, helping to coordinate Earth's defense. John Carter's voice came through the radio. Let them come. Amy's team is ready in space, and Steve's group has the ground covered. Through the cameras, they watched as Amy Foster flew between enemy ships in a modified spacesuit. Her enhanced vision let her see exactly where to strike. Each shot from her weapon hit a critical system, turning mighty warships into floating metal. On the ground, Steve Duncan led a team of enhanced soldiers whose skin had turned to living metal. They walked through the heaviest Zarkax fire without stopping, protecting the regular human soldiers behind them. Dr. Martinez, Peter called from his computer. You need to see this. Lisa rushed over. On his screen, new data scrolled rapidly. What is it? The enhanced soldiers. Their DNA isn't just changing anymore. It's evolving. Each time they face a new threat, they get stronger. They're adapting faster than the Zarkax can come up with new weapons. A massive explosion lit up the sky. The Zarkax flagship had arrived, bigger than any ship they'd seen before. Khazarvex's voice boomed across all channels. "You could have shared your power peacefully," the alien commander said. "Now you force us to take it by force. We will not be defeated by creatures who were living in caves while we ruled the stars." John's calm voice replied, "You're wrong about us. Those caves made us stronger. Every hardship humans faced made us adapt and survive. We kept those lessons in our DNA, waiting for when we would need them again." As if to prove his point, John led a team of enhanced soldiers straight toward the Zarkax flagship. They moved in perfect harmony, each using their unique abilities together. Lisa watched in amazement as they breached the massive ship's defenses. Amy's team found the weak spots. Steve's group made the openings larger. Others used new abilities that seemed to appear just when they needed them most. "They're adapting to space combat now," Peter said excitedly. "Look, their bodies are actually creating their own protection against the vacuum." The battle reached its peak when John found Khazarvex on the flagship's bridge. The alien commander wore armor twice as thick as his soldiers and carried a weapon that could melt steel. "Your kind had its time," John said as they faced each other. "Now it's our turn." The fight was brief but incredible. Khazarvex's advanced weapons met John's evolved abilities. In the end, human adaptability proved stronger than alien technology. "Surrender," John told the defeated commander. "End this war before more lives are lost." Within an hour, the Zarkax fleet began to retreat. Earth had won its first interstellar war. Back in the command center, Lisa finally let herself relax. "It's over," she whispered. "No," General Ross said, looking at the screen showing the enhanced soldiers returning home. "It's just beginning. The galaxy knows about us now. They know what humans can do. Then we'll be ready," Commander Blake said. "We'll keep adapting, keep getting stronger." Peter looked up from his computer. "The real question is, what do we do with this power now?" Lisa watched as John and his team landed safely on Earth. Their eyes still glowed with inner light. But now she saw something else there too, hope for the future. "We do what humans have always done," she said. "We learn, we grow, and we use what we've learned to build something better." The sun rose over Earth the next morning, shining on a changed world. Humanity had unlocked the powers sleeping in their DNA, and the universe would never be the same.